Welcome to the Founding Voices podcast here, a series of conversations with humans who showed up before there was a map. I'm Perry, the founder of the Octopus Movement, and I believe nonlinear thinking is not just a way of solving problems, it's a way of being in the world. Each week, I speak with three founding members of our global human mycelium to explore who they are, why they think differently, and how they're shaping a future that can be built in straight lines. Let's meet today's guest. This is Dr. Antoine Eid, and he's the founder and CEO of Meet Yourself. He organizes leadership retreats and programs like DNA of Leadership in Cambridge, and he shares a deep perspective on identity and the science of you, and we have that in common because I find that very interesting. His community just celebrated graduates from the Meet Yourself practitioner program. I can't find my words. Oh my God, but I mean so well. Dr. Antoine, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you. I was looking forward to talking to you.
We
Thank you
have that
very
in
much.
common. I think we really have that in common, that the science of you, who you really are in understanding yourself, is, I think, so important. And I think that's our dance together, that we both appreciate that so much. Before we
Yes.
dive into that, because I want to know so much more, I want to start with the first question. How would you describe and how did you discover your own octopus in your DNA? Because I'm guessing that, the science of you understand yourself very well. And here you are as a founder of the octopus movement. So there is a resonance of nonlinear thinking and octopi. So how did you find that and how do you see that, Antoine?
What a nice question. Well, the first thought that came to mind is how many arms do I need to have right now in order to handle all the projects that I'm working on? That was the first image. But beyond that, if I want to compare what I've discovered about me in relation with the octopus, it's mostly probably the distributed intelligence. So through conversations and thinking with other people, it feels like I have my brain and I have also other amazing brains around me, just
Hmm.
like the octopus that does not have a central brain. It's also the arms, the different arms that can do different things and act, explore, and learn independently. And these would be again the people that I work with and the people that I meet. And there's this amazing ability of the octopus to adapt uh, and to feel before acting. And that's my intuition that I believe in more and more and that I rely on more and more. So, to summarize that, it's mostly thinking through others.
Yeah.
These are
And
my octopus arms.
your octopus arms are not necessary in your case, your own arms, but also the people you work with, which is very cool. Many people that are in the octopus movement and consider themselves to be nonlinear thinkers always talk about them using their own arms in many ways and doing multiple things at the same time. And you're the first one who's saying, "Wait a second, this is I see my 8 arms in working together with other people and using my adaptability and my feeling to do as much as possible." Is that correct?
Absolutely. An octopus has one arm, but a human octopus can have millions of arms, not only eight.
Exactly. And I think adaptability is kind of a key word, especially in today's world. I want to know how you see that because there's a lot of change going on. Of course, AI buzzword, AI implementation of AI changes and maybe even a lot of people losing their job because of AI or need to change their job. So we talk about adaptability a lot. How do you see um, meeting yourself through your DNA and adaptability? I'm also asking, is there something in our DNA that is linked to adaptability? What are your thoughts on that? Can you share something about that?
Yes, for sure. Well, there's something in our DNA that is linked to every single one of our personality traits. Anyways, adaptability is one of them, and that's also our level of flexibility, our level of being assertive or being rigid, and so on. And that is, we're born with a certain genetic propensity towards that, but it's also a skill that could be developed with time.
Hmm.
And today, this is becoming a much needed skill because of the pace at which things are changing, because of the pace at which we need to learn. It's the same survival of the fittest concept, except that now it needs to go much faster, which
Yeah.
makes adaptability a very important trait.
Is there, would you say that adaptability is one of the key elements if we start to understand ourselves better, an area to focus on because of what we need to achieve our goals and to be successful, um, in the corporate world, in our work, in working together with other people, in using your 8 arms together in your team? Is is that adaptability important, and how do you find that? Because you're all about the science of your ourselves, and where if we feel that we don't have a lot of adaptability, or we find it all very scary, where would you find the adaptability, and how could you train your adaptability in your perspective?
Nice question. You and I, every time we meet, we speak somehow about this because we're both passionate about humans and what humans can bring to teams, organizations, and this world. And this is the development of artificial intelligence and automation and all of that is leading to humans giving more and realizing the importance of developing their human traits,
Hmm.
because it seems that at some point everything a human or humans will be able to give is their human traits. The rest will be replaceable by a machine,
Hmm.
and that will require a that or adaptability at that level of how can I adapt to the advancement in technology and start realizing or understanding what human traits exist in me and how can I nurture those and make sure that these are at the best potential I
Hmm.
can nurture in
Hmm.
order to provide something, to bring something to the table. Otherwise, I will probably have nothing left to offer as a human being.
Yeah.
And this requires that adaptability now is unlearning what we know
Yeah.
and learning a new way of that is mostly focused on human
Yeah.
traits.
Yeah. So, I've read about you that there's a theme in your leadership work that leadership isn't learned, and it's revealed. And for me, doing the Octopus movement, being the founder of this global movement, my leadership style has developed, but also revealed how. And I had no idea what I was capable of because I never did what I'm doing right now. How how can people discover what they can reveal? Because I agree with you that when you do something which is close to your passion, to say something very obvious, but also um, um, something that you understand, you need to go there. How can you discover what is hidden and what can be revealed? Because we don't know in many times, and we both like to understand who we are. So how can we understand ourselves better so we can find what can be revealed, and something is only revealed when it's not there yet? So how can we do that?
Oh, thank you for asking me this. This is the flag that I've been carrying for a few years now. Um,
By the
People have,
way,
yes.
you didn't ask me to ask this question. This is really for the audience. Like this it feels
No,
like
we
it's
have not
scripted.
rehearsed any of
Antoine
this.
is giving me these questions. Not at all.
But
Um,
you've
um,
done great homework. You're asking me all the nice
no,
questions. Thank
I'm curious. You know, I'm just I know what you're doing, and I'm so curious in this. How does something become revealed? And you need to know where you can go in order to reveal something which is hidden. How,
you. Yeah.
Antoine? How?
Well, let me address this from two different angles. One,
Mhm,
people have heard enough how wrong they are and how many things are missing in them. And
mhm,
it seems that humans are on this hamster wheel running, chasing after a better version of themselves until they die.
mhm,
And we call this a growth mindset. We call this ambition. We call this our ability to grow and develop, and that's a beautiful human thing. Our ability to progress throughout our lives. If you compare us with other species, you find that the other species do not have that ability to grow at that speed.
mhm,
Why we grow? We realize that most of this growth is a function of the relationships that we're in, the environments, the job that we're in, and not always addressing or aligning with who we are. And this is where the reveal part is. What I'm telling the world is that please continue growing.
mhm,
But what if I can help you reveal the things that you were born with, your talents, your potentials, the things that light you up,
mhm.
and see whether you can give those a bit of attention through your development journey. Because if you think about it, this is how humans were supposed to live, and this is how our ancestors lived. They just woke up and went and they do anything that they enjoyed doing. But now we live in concrete and we live with a boss and we live with a wife that nags. And eventually that leads to a need to develop all these behaviors and adapt and continue adapting. We call it growth, but in fact, we're just trying to fit a role. And I'm saying, even with leadership, such as every other role in life, you're born with propensities, we're born with talents. They're written in your genes. And it's a matter of allow me to let you know what they are so that you grow in that direction because this is where you're going to be happier. And that is the purpose of life. The purpose of life is not working, it is to be fulfilled and satisfied and happy. And that's what I do on my leadership program. I discuss with my participants what does your job require in terms of competencies. And then we put that on one side and we turn and look at what can you bring as a human being to the table and what impact do you want to leave in the world, and we start cross matching these two to see which areas align and which areas misalign.
And what makes you happy then, Antoine? It's a cliche to ask, but it's like, yeah, I can guess, but still I want to hear from you. What makes you happy?
I'm happy right now because I'm given an opportunity to share this message across your platform and your audience. But I'm happy when I see that I managed to touch someone's soul and made them realize that they have so much to love in themselves, that they have so much uniqueness and so much value to bring to the world when the whole world was reminding them of how wrong and incomplete and inadequate they are. And when I see that, I see how powerful it is and I see how empowering it can be and how it shifts people's mindset from I want to grow, but I'm not really enjoying this growth journey to, you know what, I want to drop everything and I want to focus on what lights me up, what fires me up, and this is where growth becomes natural.
Is it an alarm bell for you when someone says, "I want to grow"?
I think growth is overrated for sure. We're from the day we're born, someone is trying to tell us to do something different.
Mhm.
Don't do that, do it differently. We're put in families, our parents very lovingly want to tell us that this is wrong and do it differently. Then the teacher does that, then the boss today is saying the same thing. And there's this superstition in our minds that we are incomplete. Even when we people who are religious, they start with the premise of God is perfect and you as a human are imperfect, which means that no matter what I do, there's always going to be something wrong with me because I'm a human. And that is this whole concept of does that translate into I'm going to spend the rest of my lifetime to become good enough, or can I look at what exists in me and just cherish and respect that and honor it?
This is the first time we've spoken quite a few times already, um, in a group or just you and I or together with Karen. This is the first time I have to share this with you, Antoine, that I'm thinking, oh my God, this is more nonlinear than I thought. Um, I think I think I was biased because you always talk about learning about yourself through your DNA, and I think the the word DNA got me on the wrong track. Maybe that labels in the laws of thought with me into a linear perspective, and I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to your human intelligence and wisdom, and in understanding yourself. I recognize now how nonlinear your whole story is, and my question is,
Yes.
how do you think, because you're meeting all these CEOs and leadership programs and um, all these wonderful people that want to learn and develop. Um, how do you think success is connected to a nonlinear thinking? This is, of course, one of my favorite questions. But um, how does that work for you? How is success connected to nonlinear thinking?
Well, I think that our brain does not work in that fashion where we get to choose to think in a linear fashion or in a non-linear fashion. To get
Mhm.
anything done in life, that's the whole concept of innovation. You need to think outside the box, but then you need to think to create or use a system that gets things implemented, and that would require a higher level of linearity. So if I want to choose between one or the other, or say which is better, I don't think we can ever say I am an exclusively linear thinker or I am an exclusively non-linear thinker. Each one of us is a non-linear thinker the moment we are having a car accident and we are reacting instinctively, or somebody yells fire, then suddenly everything you do from there is most probably non-linear. It's just your instinct taking over. But what I always uh, push people that I work with to think is, and it's funny because I keep asking people, what is better, thinking inside the box or outside the box? Almost 100% of people say thinking outside the box, and I
Yet,
say it's wrong. You're still
mhm,
thinking about the box.
yeah, there's no box, right?
There's no exactly.
Yeah.
Why put yourself in a small frame, no matter how big that box is? So it's just acknowledging our intuition, acknowledging the ideas that do not conform with the norm, but at the same time honoring and respecting what works. There are valid facts in life
Yeah.
that we can't change.
But you've seen so many DNAs of people, you've helped so many people in understanding themselves. So curious, what has surprised you the most when thinking back at all your conversations with all the people in understanding yourself? Um, what has surprised you most in potential versus conditioning?
Wow, I thank you. Another beautiful question. I've met with thousands of people through what I do. I've done thousands of personality assessments, including DNA tests, including neuroscience-based assessments, and so on. The one pattern that I see in most people is that they talk about themselves in terms of who they are today. We tend to forget who we were and what we were born with
Mhm.
and start defending our present behavior. I'll give you a couple of examples. People our age, I ask them, um, they say, I'm not social. I don't like to being with people anymore. And what they're referring to is, I have been in so much social pain and betrayal and etc. that I'm now cautious when it comes to my relationships.
Mhm.
But they say, I'm not social. And then you show them the genetic scores, the result of their DNA test, and it shows high talent or sociability. And immediately their eyes open and say, yeah, this is what I've always been as a child. And they start telling me stories about how life slowly started forcing or teaching them the need to be careful when it comes to relationships. And that's something I see all the time, almost on a daily basis, of people in the beginning of the conversation defending who they are, that what you call the conditioning, and labeling themselves with what they have been conditioned to become, and then seeing their genetic scores reminds them of who they actually are. In a lot of cases, people cry. People start telling stories, specific stories about how life has changed them to be this, but they don't really feel happy being that. They just feel forced to be it.
Does it when I'm listening to you saying this, I'm feeling like if this is the case and this is the case for you, then I would be like everybody should know this.
Definitely.
And I know from our first conversation, this is also how you see this. That you said to me, I want everyone to do this. Um, is that your biggest dream? Is that your biggest? But is it? But how? How are we doing this? Because you're right. I think the conditioning and the potential are two different things, and it's so valuable to understand this also to each other, not only to yourself. How, Antoine? How are we doing this?
Getting there slowly but surely, uh, getting attention and people sharing their experience. But tech- technically, we're all trying to do this. A good example of this is when we are raising children. We've tried so much to put them in these different activities, trying to find out what they're talented at. Organizations are doing the same every day. They're trying to educate and develop, etc., hoping to increase performance and identify talent. We have been trying to do this. I'm just giving another way of doing it by saying, hey, let's not forget that part of your personality is what you were born with, and it influences who you are to a great extent. And it's written in your genes. It's just a 30-second cheek swab
Yeah.
that will reveal a great deal on a lot of your talents. So why not do it and take that shortcut? I'm not saying this is exactly who you want to be. You can be anything you want. But I'm telling you, you're talented in music. Now take that information and do whatever you want with it.
Take it. Well, I can be the example here. I have severe dyslexia. if I start writing, nobody understands what the hell I'm writing. And I was very discouraged at school during education, always this red marker, like this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Um, so my conditioning was, I'm not good at that. Now with AI, it was helping me to rewrite. I noticed that I hardly have to use AI anymore because my conditioning has changed into I do know how to write and I'm enjoying it and I'm writing a book and I'm writing other things and I love to write. So I would be very curious to see if this lights up in my DNA that I have a talent to write, but just because of my dyslexia, I was so discouraged to write, which is ridiculous, of
How
course.
come we have not done your test yet?
I don't know, Antoine. We need to
Let's
organize that.
let's do
Yeah.
it. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it.
This reminded me of a quick fun story. A guy telling another his friend, he's saying, I had dyslexia, but I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
I've just completely healed it. He said, how did you do that? He said, nothing. I did not follow any treatment. I just prayed and I believe in dog.
Interesting, eh?
Do you get it?
Yes, he believes in the dog instead of God.
And yes. Okay.
Dyslexia doesn't exist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is true in a way that it's, dyslexia, of course, well, that's another topic. Forget about it, Perry. Another question for Antoine.
Yes.
If imagine everybody's watching. Well, first, no, quick question. Let's go to education quickly. um, I'm listening to you, and we should do this. Would it be, do you think it would ever be possible to do this at school, to do a DNA swap, understand who you are, see the potential? Would you think from a political perspective this would ever be possible?
Well, uh, it should be, because
Yeah.
the myth behind DNA testing is that this data will be used to determine what people should be or should not be, and this is against the whole. This is besides the point. The point is we have been going in different ways trying to identify talent. This is one of the ways that can shed light on talent,
Yeah.
and it starts with children. You are already, as a parent and as an educator, trying to find talent in children by enrolling them in these different activities, giving them opportunities to learn, until by hit and miss, you eventually discover that talent and you claim that you have discovered it, but you could have easily missed it.
Yeah.
Why not take a tool, science? When all of this was created and all of this myth, science wasn't as advanced as it is now. And again, DNA test does not determine who you can be. It just determines where you're going to have higher motivation. That's all. That's the maximum value of the information.
I could see that with my oldest son. He was kicked out of school and they said, "Well, you better start using your hands and studying is nothing for you." Boy, were they wrong. He's now doing two educations at the same time, and he's, in trauma medicine and whatnot, and he's studying every day and he loves doing that. And how wrong are they? And maybe with this test, he would have known. I'm happy that he found out himself. Okay, quickly, final question. Imagine everybody is watching us. Imagine the whole world sees this. Imagine YouTube is doing something that everybody on YouTube sees our interview, and you can share a message to all the people listening and watching us, and a lot of them are nonlinear thinkers. I think every human being is a nonlinear thinker. What kind of message or invitation would you like to give to all of them?
Stop growing and start being.
That's simple and very powerful. Thank you so much, Dr. Antoine, for being here, not
Thank you
just
for
in this
having me.
podcast, but also in the movement as a founding member. If you're listening and you feel a spark, follow it. Nonlinear thinking is not just a strategy, it's a kind of love, I think, and it grows where we share it. And that's what we're doing at the Octopus Movement. Thank you so much, Dr. Antoine.
Thank you
Thank you for
for what
being
you're
here.
doing, Barry.
My
Cheers.
pleasure.